Today I'm going to talk about Rory's story cubes. One of my favorite resources for early childhood education and care, storytelling, and I also use these cubes for all the children. These are called story cubes. We have 9 cubes. They're very nice to touch, and they have altogether 52 images, which makes statistically more than 10 million combinations of infinite stories. How amazing is that? Since it's story time with Kate, of course I could not pass on this resource. So these are the examples of the images that you will see on the story cubes. See, like a lock, some fire, very beautiful images, an arrow, fish, glass, a house. So very beautiful. It's quite inspirational to see these images, to create your own either story cubes or story rocks or stones and expand the number of combination even more, because these images are wonderful, but you can always add more, which will make the story time and storytelling session more interesting and engaging. First one, you have 9 cubes or dices. You can shake them and roll them. The images have to be face up. An image that will be the starting point. You might assign one child to do that, or you can pick an image. For example, I will pick this image as an apple. Once upon a time, there was an apple in the garden, and then the next child will need to pick another dice to continue the story. For example, it was not just an apple from the garden, it was a magic apple that would have magnetic powers or something like that. In storytelling, it should be free and should allow some fantasy rolling stories. Then the third child, a fish, and say, could attract even fish from the sea. Was not just having a magnetic power, but it had a power to stop the clock. And you go on and on and on to create your own story. Absolutely unique, might be absolute nonsense like my story, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that children create a story narrative which has a beginning, middle part and end. And of course, with practice, your story will become better. Okay, think of a title of a story. For example, My Fantastic Vacation. Then we'll roll them again, shake, and now we can start making up a story that is called My Fantastic Vacation based on all the dice that you have. Once upon a time, I was dreaming. I was very sad, tired because I worked too much. And I decided to think about something that might help me to recover. I had a moment of insight. I should go on vacation. The inner dialogue in my head said, yes, let's go on vacation, but where should we go? Somewhere far away. I on a plane, and while I was flying, I could see beautiful rainbow through the window, and I already felt so much better. When I arrived to this faraway country, Australia, I could see lots of interesting things, such as padlocks and beautiful gardens, lots of animals, lots of flowers because it was spring like now in Australia, and buzzing bees. You know what I saw in there? A bee that was not typical bee, but it was Australian native bee, and it had no sharp end. So it was very unique. It was blue, not our typical bee. Finally, I went swimming, and I've met a little turtle that was swimming in the sea. I felt so much better, and I loved my vacation. That's a second example. So third one, if you have more than one player, let's say I have 2. I'm a tutor, so I usually have a child one-on-one. We will have obviously divide these cubes. So we'll remove 1, so we will both have 4. I will have 4 and I will have 4 cubes. We will start with one player, a story. You might roll their cubes as well. So let's say they roll 1. Upon a time there was a house. And I can either choose one that I have or roll the dice if I don't like the images and say that was always locked. And then the child might choose their images. I'd add something like that was a mystery. No one knew why the house was always locked. Maybe it was haunted. Or there was a devil in there. I might not like this one, let's say there. And then, once a very brave boy took a light and started to explore what's inside the house. What they found was a big mystery related to Egyptian pyramids and ancient people. And let's say, just rolling the magic. So that's an example of how you can co-create or co-construct a story together using story cubes. That's just the beginning. What other games do you think we can make up with the story cubes? To come, subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I think that's a great resource to invest into or make your own story cubes. Apart from telling stories and creating stories, you can use it as a party icebreaker. You can use it for problem solving. You can create inspirations and support creativity. You can also encourage speaking, listening skills, especially children with additional needs and speech. You can also use it for mental workout, for example, memorizing them, and of course literacy development. But more on that to follow. Thank you for listening.